Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News, and I'm very pleased to have with us again Ivan Ostojic of Infobip. Ivan, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So you just did a presentation here at Enterprise Connect called The Future of Business Messaging, CX Strategies for 2025 and Beyond. So what's that all about?
Yeah, so I think we're at a really unique time of technology history, especially in North America, because we have a couple of big trends that are coming together at the same time, I would say colliding. That's creating very interesting basis for the future. So which trends I'm referring to? So number one is we do kind of regular consumer research, and we see actually that there is a sort of increase in preference for conversational interactions with businesses as opposed to having a phone calls or going in person, especially to solve kind of more transactional things. And actually this trend is quite interesting if you look at the split by generations. What we saw is that, across the generations group, it's 6 or 7 out of 10 people prefer to message or chat with the business as opposed to kind of having a call. That experience is good, of course. But if you go to Gen Z, it's like 9 out of 10. And Gen Z is 30% of global population and 25 to 27% of the workforce. So this tells you is this demand from customers will just increase. And in line with that, just to validate, every year we do messaging trends reports. So all your listeners can go to Infobip messaging trends report, and we see kind of a pattern of adoption of messaging that corresponds to that trend. So we see much more exponential growth of RCS, ninefold in the last 2 years. We see still exponential growth of WhatsApp, so all the rich messaging channels, and we see growing use of AI for interactions. So that's one trend on the demand side from the consumer. And then on the supply side, we have two trends, and one very important for North America. First is that the messaging apps that come natively with your phone, or you have to install WhatsApp, are turning into super apps. That means they have entry points to these messaging experiences that are coming from social media, from links, from QR codes, from maps, from search results. It means they have very rich features that enable you to build like app-like experiences within the interface, which is, menus, flows, rich media, carousels, etc. And then there are deep integration in the underlying systems like payment, calendar, e-commerce systems, and so forth. So that enables you essentially to build something like an app within seconds, and using agentic AI could be like auto-generated, which is quite interesting in itself. So I would say those rich messaging channels are a perfect medium for adoption of AI or interface for AI. And then the third trend I don't need to talk about a lot, but it's also on supply side, is the rise of generative and agentic AI that enable consumer to give like commands in the language that you use in everyday's life and get answers from the machine and things like that. So with that, this is actually sort of, when it comes together, it's a very powerful combo that is changing face of customer experience. And why this is important for the North America is because North America was never on the rich messaging channels. So, because WhatsApp never took off here.
Right.
But what we are doing this year is we're launching RCS together with carriers and Google, and we have some major brands testing the technology, and they really see the potential that we see, that underused apps or the consumer groups that are not using their app and things they can move into RCS. So this is a real opportunity, and that opportunity sort of holds promise to transform face of marketing and face of customer support.
It's interesting that you talk about WhatsApp and this sort of gap.
Yeah.
Because actually, I'll tell you a little story. Your PR agency is the only organization that I think has called me to organize a podcast using WhatsApp. The call actually came in, and I took it. I did see that I immediately identified it as, I think this is a legitimate call, and did take the call. So is the US and Canada, is North America actually at risk of falling behind because of the low adoption rate of WhatsApp?
No, actually, I think there was, right? And the experiences, if you look other parts of the world, which were kind of WhatsApp first countries, there's much more experiences for messaging and very good ROI. We talk Latin America, India. But with RCS, everything will change because Apple started supporting RCS. Carriers are starting to enable this on any phone. And then like by the end of the year, you'll probably have 100% of American population, not only on RCS, because that'll happen earlier as AT&T come online, but actually 100% of American population on RCS with all the rich features, two-way communication and things like that. And so with that, you don't need to install anything. You can just push the very rich experiences into this channel. And if people find it relevant, they will react.
Now, that's a very good point. You're also telling me that, there's a rich variety of different types of demographics, different types of plans, numbering plans, different things that almost everybody who has some kind of smartphone will have access to RCS, will be using it. And this basically will be the platform of commerce.
Well, I don't think it will displace existing platform of commerce, but for some people it might. And for other people, it'll be complement to what you do in commerce. So, if you go and want to browse 1,000 SKUs in your free time, probably you'll still use the desktop because that's the best experience.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really quickly want to get something, to buy, you can just enter the chat, like type it, say, hey, I need, I don't know, a jacket of this color and this size. Give me 3 top recommendations. You get 3 top recommendations. You can click shop. There is the payment flow. You click like pay, and then that you're done. So yeah, for certain use cases, definitely it'll become either important complement, or for some user group it might actually sort of displace. But that's depending on the segment and their preferences. The importance is to offer customers, experience they want on their terms. I think this will have profound business impact. So today's marketing is largely based on third-party data, static content, even if it's atomized, but it's still static. And then it's what I call yes or no marketing. So people send you like an offer to buy, let's say, this jacket. I mean, you can only give binary answer, right? You ignore,
right,
or you click and buy.
Right.
I think with these technologies or these trends I'm talking about, first of all, you have a lot of first-party data because it's one-on-one channel. With AI, you are able to generate hyper-personalized content for that person. Essentially, you could show, if you're selling clothes, you can actually proactively send a video if you have a photo from before of that person through other conversations and show how this looks on them. And then, you will bring bargaining back, I'm jokingly say, in the digital world, because, if you send me an offer for this jacket, I could ask another color and a discount. And then bot can be trained to give me or not give me a discount, depending on, if I'm a loyal customer and what else I'm buying. So that actually really, when done well, we saw like massive impact on conversion rates and uplift in sales, even with more simple conversational designs and not as sophisticated as the ones I'm mentioning. You see anywhere between 2 to 10-fold increase in conversion rates and things like that. And we have measurable case studies for North America on RCS.
So far we've been discussing, basically mercantile applications. I want to buy something.
Yeah.
I'm selling you something, even auctioning, even bargaining.
Yes.
So so this clearly is a good way to go. What about the customer service issues? For example, I'm flying and I have an issue. I need to talk to an agent.
Yeah, that's actually quite prevalent around the world. And I think with RCS and Apple Business Messaging as well, I don't want to forget that's an important channel in this region. I think you can really transform that as well, because I don't have to call for basic stuff anymore. Right. And I don't need to kind of wait on the line, identify myself. I can just enter chat, like my preferred messaging channel, and I can ask questions I have. And if the question is simple, the bot will handle it, or the Gen AI. If the question is, medium complexity, you can route it to an agent. And if the question is very complex, you can immediately either route it to a specialist or send it to a booking flow. And actually, we have applications around the world doing that. And we saw something between 20 to 30% decrease in costs, because normally people often call center for like stupid things, because either they're lazy or they don't know where to find an answer.
Right.
And what you see is you first have actually increase in volume. because now with messaging, it's so easy to get in touch.
Right.
You have a bit increase. But then the automation is so powerful because all of these transactional stuff are sort of removed that net, you actually have around 20 to 30% reduction in costs. And that's quite interesting. But the implementations have to be good. The experience have to be good because, I mean, if customer tries it and then it doesn't really give them what they want, they just get frustrated. The other thing is you always need to have a human supervision and human in the loop. So the systems we are building together with our partners have that ability to either escalate or hand over conversations to a human or even monitor sentiments of the consumer. And if you see that they're getting angry or not getting their question, we can immediately escalate to an agent. But that escalation can happen in the channel where they started a conversation. So, if you say, hey, I'm your AI agent, and then you see something is wrong, you say, hi, I'm John, I'm taking over this conversation. Now I'm a human. I would like to help you. So that's also something we're working, and I think it's very powerful, especially if you also augment human agent with AI as a tool for them to get information quicker. It's really awesome.
So there's something interesting that, as ever with new technology, it still has to be deployed correctly.
Yes.
You cannot abusively deploy it.
100%.
So also you mentioned when we were talking about our podcast today, engagement, customer engagement.
So we see a lot of, we are now at the early wave of RCS in North America. I'll talk in North America, but also globally. We see a lot of industries that don't have intent to sell, and it's not really customer support. They use this for engagement. So let me give you a couple of examples. Last summer during Olympics, we actually created for a sort of a fast mover consumer good company an engagement bot for Olympics that would sort of ask people quiz, send them information that the match is starting. It was kind of an added service. They were also collecting some data, and given that they gave this fun engagement for free, they actually also used the opportunity then to kind of upsell them on something. So that's one area, but it's quite interesting for entertainment and things like that. And then I want to pick another example as a healthcare, for example.
Right.
Because now you can do, patient engagement, reminding them to take the drugs, educating them, all using messaging channels. And I know I did a lot of work before in healthcare. Nobody likes to install another app from a pharma company. Oh. And being sick, it's not something fun. So I really don't want to have an app that reminds me of that. So this is a great channel then to really keep that dialogue going with patients, do patient-reported outcomes and things like that. So that's another example of engagement. So I think that's also, you will see some use cases there for keeping people engaged with the brand and keeping conversation going.
So there's often a gap between our vision, especially at these events. It's almost euphoria of we're already there, but I bet that there's maybe a gap with that in reality.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because we actually wanted to kind of sober the world where we are when it comes to implementation, because we often see that technology is much ahead of adoption. So we did the conversational maturity index. You can also find it on our website where you can assess your conversational maturity, and we kind of look at different dimensions: application of use cases, channel use, underlying technology, and how people use AI. And it's quite interesting results. So as expected, for example, let me start first. The use cases people use are mainly support, less marketing and sales, and it's pretty basic FAQ, notifications, and that sort of stuff. So so that's number one. When it comes then to channel use, it's even worse. We're talking for 10 to 15 years about omnichannel. Only 30% of companies says that they're really omnichannel. And there are some multi-channel, which is another 40%. And then 30 is even using one channel or no integration between the channels. I mean, you see the gap, right? If you start talking on a chat and then you call a call center, they have no clue what you spoke on the chat.
Right.
And probably it happens to everyone. And then if we go deeper into use of AI, only 10% of brands have real conversational 10 to 15 AI deployed. And then the rest is another 10 to 15 have a simple rule-based bot. And then there is a set of companies that are using Gen AI for internal processes or content generation, and then even 30% of companies say they don't use AI. So like, we're talking about agents and everything will be automated, but actually, the reality is like only 15% of companies are brave or are doing this by exposing this to customers. And even those that expose this, 50% of them says that they just have like a basic bot. And another 50 says like, oh, it's well built. So you see, I mean, we're talking about small percentages of adopters that are doing this, and then the rest of people are like really behind, whether it's legacy systems. We see spaghetti wall in our survey in terms of underlying technologies and things like that. So it'll pass some time until I think simple messaging, rich messaging will be adopted fast, but doing more complex things, we need to kind of work together in order to extract maximal value for businesses.
So what's the path forward for companies?
Well, I think they need to be really purposeful in what they're doing, and they need to focus on the ROI from AI. So understanding what use cases they want to drive, why is that good for their business, and how to measure success. And then we need to work on both channel adoption and integration, and also on the kind of software and enterprise AI stack to drive that forward, but with the value in mind.
So let's talk about the channel. Is this an opportunity for them too?
Yes, it's a really big opportunity.
How can they engage?
Well, with us,
yes,
I think ideally they just find me on LinkedIn or write to our website and somebody will get in touch. But I mean, if they want more personal touch, I'm very open to people contacting me on LinkedIn.
Evan, thank you very much indeed for joining me today. This is great. Thank you. Always interesting. Infobip is always interesting. There's always an interesting story. Thank you for diving deep into this issue. I know we're going to hear more about this, but for now, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Doug.